This isn't my first time recording a podcast, Andrea. I'm like pretty much a pro now. You know what's crazy though? I'm going to tell you
What?
something that's crazy. I have a hemp company now.
Say
So
more.
after all of these years of talking shit about everybody else doing it wrong, we finally said, move over and started a hemp company. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is because this podcast started at the same time as when the hemp company idea started brewing. And it was, I don't know if you remember when this was. This was August. The kids had gone back to school. Do you remember what that was like?
Your kids had gone back to school. I was still in summer hell with mine.
Summer hell. It's so funny because as a kid, you're like, oh my God, summer's the best. Why are my parents so excited that I'm going back to school? And as a parent, you're like, oh, sweet, sweet relief. And for us, people who have our own businesses and our own stuff going on, when our kids go back to school, we have a tendency to do everything all at one time. We work with a bunch of female entrepreneurs who have kids. And so you're like, oh my gosh, all these ideas I've had sitting around with my kids and hanging out and going hiking in the woods, I can finally do all of those things. And when that was happening with you and I, we were talking about this podcast and it was like hemp company stuff. I do have to admit that I was not a great colleague and I wasn't listening sometimes when you were talking. And I was thinking about that because I was like, how did this happen? I was like, well, Andrea and I were talking about the podcast, this Wake and Bake podcast we wanted to start. And what was I doing? Scrolling for the hemp company research that I also had to do at that time. And I'm like, Andrea, yep, whatever, your ideas are amazing. I'm just going to say yes. And then I saw this Delta-9 THC product. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? This is such bullshit. Like, it instantly was like, Andrea, you got it. I probably interrupted you because I'm such a terrible colleague. Wait, Andrea, listen to this. There's more
news.
bullshit. I have important news. They're selling THC on the internet. We need to stop this. It was like a very vigilante move. We let Delta-8 get too far and we can actually make a difference here and make sure that no one buys this terrible garbage that someone's trying to sell them on the internet. So that's how this started. And it is not how it ends. So you have to stick around to this episode until the end because it is not what I thought it was going to be. How about you, Andrea? Do you feel like it was what you thought it was going to be?
I was just editing this podcast not too long ago and remembering, I was like, oh yeah, this is when we thought this whole thing was bullshit. And Corinne went down this rabbit hole and she was so excited to tell me about all this stuff she had learned. And then to see how it's gone from that, 3 months ago to this now was mind blowing to me.
So if you want to know more about this hemp-derived THC, you have to stay until the very end of the episode because we have an update at the end of the episode that will show you how far this whole thing has come, this journey down this rabbit hole into hemp-derived THC, and I think you're going to love it. But before we get started, I want to share with you a few sponsors who are keeping this information free and available to the public. Do you have a dream to put on cannabis workshops, start a cannabis growing or cooking YouTube channel, write articles about cannabis? Maybe you even want to start a podcast of your own. And maybe, just maybe, you would like to make this your job. Get paid to talk and write about cannabis. If that's something that you're interested in, the Certified Cannabis Educator program might be just what you're looking for. In as little as 12 weeks, just 3 months, you'll be fully trained and certified as a cannabis educator. That's right, in just 3 months, you'll have everything you need to start getting paid to talk and write about cannabis. In this one-of-a-kind program, you not only get a world-class cannabis education, you not only get certified, but you'll also get the support and guidance from people who have actually done this work. I'm talking me, Andrea Maharg, we've got Danielle Simone Brand, people who have actually made a living doing this as a job. We're actually going to show you how to create your first workshop, your first article, video, or podcast, and we're going to give you feedback on that so that you know exactly what you need to do to start making money to talk and write about cannabis. This is exactly what Andrea and I wanted when we first got started doing this work, and so we've created it and we're giving it to you. So if you're interested in doing this, if you're hearing Andrea and I talk today and you're like, those ladies do this for a job, I'd like to do that, go check out the Cannabis Coaching Institute at www.cannabiscoachinginstitute.com. Today was one of those days as a cannabis educator that is somewhat rare, because most of the time you're answering the same questions over and over again. You're writing about the same kind of thing. You're kind of exposed to a lot of the same information. But then every once in a while you have that day where you just learn so much. You're nodding, so I'm guessing
Mm.
this is a common occurrence. And it changes the way you understand everything you understood before. And it completely blows your mind. And it makes you excited about the future of this industry, which those things all together happening on one day, pretty rare. Would you say? Pretty rare?
I'm so excited to talk to you about this because you don't always think great thoughts about the industry in general. So you're like happy about this. Plus, we just talked the other day about how, you know what, I don't even really like Delta-9 anymore. Like I'm not that interested in it. And now you're like, I cannot wait to tell you what I learned.
I can't wait. So I guess we should probably talk about what we're talking about, which is
Yeah.
hemp-derived THC. So hemp-derived THC, Delta-9, the cannabinoid, right? The cannabinoid that is prohibited. It's the reason why cannabis has been prohibited. And now people are manufacturing Delta-9 products, THC products that will get you high, that are psychoactive, that can be sold online to prohibition states legally. We're going to find out exactly how legally and what the implications of all that are. But the first thing I want to do is ask you just overall, hemp derived or not, what is Delta-9 THC?
Yeah, you nailed it right off the bat. Delta-9 THC is the intoxicating cannabinoid. It's the thing that makes you feel high or stoned or intoxicated when you consume cannabis. And we used to just call it THC. Like not too long ago, we only just called it THC. But because we have all these new products on the market, such as Delta-8 THC or Delta-10 THC, Delta-9 THC is the one that I personally love. It's my fave.
It's the one that makes you have that Matthew McConaughey, like, all right kind of vibe. Is that a
No,
good definition?
no, it's the kind of thing that makes me go from like, I am not able to function on this day to, oh, I can get out of bed and go to work and talk about Delta-9. Like yeah. Thank you,
Full
Delta-9.
circle, chicken
Yeah.
and egg.
Okay, let's dive into hemp-derived THC. So 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we had a student in one of our science calls, and she runs a dispensary. And she told me, hey, by the way, Andrea, we have 5 milligram THC gummies in our store. And I was like, why? Like, why are you breaking the rules? Why are you doing this illegal thing? Because she follows the rules. And she said, no, they're not illegal. They're totally fine. They fall under this hemp-derived cannabinoids law.
Okay, well, let's start talking a little bit about what hemp derived Delta 9 is, because we know most Delta 9 that you've had come in contact with is from high THC cannabis, marijuana, ganja, whatever word you want to use for it. When we talk about hemp, we're talking about specifically a plant that is 0.3% THC or less, or a product that is 0.3 THC or less. So how can you have a 5 milligram edible that is THC that is hemp derived? And how can you be buying that on the internet in states that don't allow any sale or use of THC? How is that possible? So I'll say the first time that I saw this, you and I were actually on a call together the first time that I'd seen this. And I said, what? And I called it bullshit instantly. I was instantly like, bullshit. This is either illegal or it's nasty. And for me, a nasty thing is something that's been made using a process that is what semi-synthetic or synthetic or some of these terms that they're using, but really is a chemically converted process. And so that's what I'm going to talk about first, because some of these products that you have access to now that are Delta-9 THC gummies are using a chemically converted process. And so I'm just going to walk you through that process really quick. This is like the stuff that I'm not a huge fan of, but everyone can make their own decisions. This all came from an extractor whose name is Zach Edge, really wonderful human. I was listening to him describe this process, and basically it starts with CBD isolate, which I'm not just necessarily a fan of in general. And then it goes through a chain reaction. In a reaction chamber, it's using ethanol or another solvent, and then it's exposed to an acid usually a Lewis acid, and catalyst to control the reaction. Okay. And so once it goes through a reaction, it turns into Delta-8 or Delta-9. Now, the reason that it turns into Delta-8, Delta-9, or Delta-10 is because they've changed the catalyst or they've increased the temperature, right? They do a different process to it. And so it comes out as a ratio of more Delta-8 to Delta-9 or more Delta-9 to Delta-10. But there are still usually all these other compounds in it as well. Okay.
You're saying like when you do that process from a CBD isolate, that the product will not, no matter what you do, come out as just Delta-8. It's going to have some Delta-8 and some Delta-9 and maybe some Delta-10 in there.
Yep. From what I understand, it usually ends with a ratio. And so after that process, then they put it through chromatography, which is also a solvent process. And then they purify it to pure Delta-8 or pure Delta-9. Okay, make that face. I get it. I mean, I make that face because I imagine this happening in a grody warehouse with people who really don't know what they're doing, have been taught by someone who might not have known what they were doing. Who's like, hey, dude, like, check out this gas spectrometer or whatever it is, you know? Okay. So those are the issues. When Zach was talking about it, he pointed out the issues are that people are using substandard infrastructure and processes, and that is creating a product with impurities that are uncharacterized or unidentified. And that means that you are going to have in these final products compounds that aren't being identified and that have no background for safety data. So we have no idea what these things are going to do inside the human body. These are things like heavy metals, but there are also compounds that we don't even know what's in there, right? And some of these lab tests aren't testing for those things. So some consumer organizations are doing lab tests that are showing potentially harmful compounds. And the other downside of this process is that there are no other cannabinoids present, right? You're getting a mix of Delta-8, Delta-9, Delta-10, but you've got nothing else because it's coming from an isolated compound. Okay, so that is that process.
This sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible, doesn't it? So why are people using that? Why do companies use that? Typically, it's because it has no taste and it has no other compounds in it that are going to make product development difficult. So it's going to be more palatable to a consumer who just wants a lime flavored lime thing and just wants to feel like the high of THC. However, some of the disadvantages are also that when you use single molecules like THC, in an isolated form, you have increase in anxiety and unpleasant effects and those kinds of things as well, aside from the things we just don't know, right? And this is the part where I was like, fucking bullshit. But, however...
where's the but? I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the but.
I mean, okay, so this is like, it's a medium-sized but, because I'm not saying like, wow, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. It's the best thing since sliced bread. But let me talk to you about plant-derived and the process of that.
Oh, thank God. This is the but. There's another way that people are getting Delta-9 THC, quote unquote, legally. You're giving me the but now. I really thought that you were going to tell me like, oh, guess what? We got Delta-9 and it's great. And I was like, no, I know that's terrible. I don't want what you have. Okay. Oh, thank God. Okay.
Well, because you're jumping ahead. You're too curious. I told you were going to be popping all over the place. And I was going to explode during this podcast today. Okay. So the extraction process that's used to make isolate, how much do you know about that?
It's like a very terrible, it's not a terrible process. It's most of the time done super cleanly, and the people who are doing that process like want your product to come out cleanly. And it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we know isolates don't work as well as full spectrum products, and I don't love them. I use isolates in a pinch.
Isolates in a pinch, if you absolutely have to. Shouldn't be putting in soda. I think we can both agree on that. But what happens to the rest of the stuff after they make an isolate? You ever thought about this?
This is what I think about.
When they go through that process to make isolate, which is a relatively clean process, we can agree on that, which we can cover in a whole different podcast. They get 40% of the CBD out of that. And what's left over, and this is a very funny word that just is never going to sound scientific, but it's called the mother liquor. And the mother liquor is the leftover. Yep, that's what it's actually called.
LICKER or LIQUOR?
I wrote it as LICKER.
I really hope it's LIQUOR right now.
It probably is. I was too excited. And I was like, mother liquor. Oh, Cut. No, I'm just kidding. Let's keep rolling. Okay. So, what's left over from that process is a highly concentrated full spectrum oil. So, you take 40% of the CBD out, you have that leftover 60%, but you also have THC, CBC, CBN, CBG, all of that
All the
stuff,
minors that were growing on the plant. Yeah.
along with THC, the major, yeah, that is grown on the plant because it's a full spectrum product. Okay, so that is what they're utilizing to make some of these THC gummies. Okay, and the way that they can do that, and you mentioned it before, the way that they can do that is that in a 4-gram gummy, which officially isn't that big, it's really not that huge.
I feel like eight bites later, you're done.
It's a sandwich size. But in a 4-gram gummy, which I'm guessing is like, yeah, this big. The company that I was looking at today had 5 milligrams of THC, but it also had 30 milligrams of CBG and other cannabinoids in it. So it's like an extra full spectrum product. So it's still less than 0.3% of that dry weight. The downside to this is flavor. So when they use the mother liquor, stop it. When they use this concentrated full spectrum oil to infuse into them, it has a real hempy taste, right? And so the consumer, who again doesn't like things that taste bad, just doesn't.
For sure. That's why you're eating a gummy, is because you want it to taste good.
Well, yeah, you're also eating a gummy because it creates a legal loophole for Delta-9 THC. So like, why can't you just take your legal loophole and eat it and just wash it down? Okay, so the flavor is really one of the only downsides to utilizing this plant-derived extraction that results in the mother liquor. Okay, the upside is that the phenomenon of pure THC giving you more anxiety and more unpleasant side effects is reduced because you have all these other cannabinoids. You also get more cannabinoids overall, and this blew my mind. So in this mother liquor, they found 10 to 20 times more naturally occurring CBN than a typical CBD product. CBN that didn't undergo a conversion process. So it's naturally plant derived. So then you have more CBN in there. So that's cool. And then you have CBG and CBC, and they are reportedly responsible for a synergistic response with CBD and THC for pain and inflammation. So obviously we know they all work better together, but those two in particular are more highly concentrated in this as well, along with CBDV. These things that typically you and I, when we talk about them, go bullshit, 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 not taking that, not putting it in my body. But if it's concentrated from a plant, does that change our feelings about it? And we'll talk about that in a minute. One thing that Kyle mentioned was that a 5 milligram THC gummy with this compound that has 30 plus milligrams of all of these other things is going to have about the same psychoactive effect for a lot of people, reportedly, as a 10 to 15 milligram gummy that has just a pure THC isolate without those negative side effects. So we're talking about stronger medicine, highly concentrated, really easy to take, bioavailable plant medicine that is available in prohibition states. And that's why I'm excited today. That's why I'm like, I came to this meeting just like, what is going on? I mean, Zach described it as a more complete effect. And I'm like, I'm dying to try these, I'm really, really excited to try them myself, because it wasn't until I did all this research that I was even open to doing so. We talked yesterday and I was like, no, I'm not putting that bullshit in my body,
Yeah.
Okay, questions before we go on to legalities.
Yeah. So you said that it has naturally occurring CBN. That's like not a thing. The plant doesn't grow CBN. That's a breakdown product of THC. Is that because, like, why is that? I really want to know why CBN is in there in such high concentrations.
This is just a guess, but my guess is that the extraction process for creating a CBD isolate probably does degrade the amount of THC in there. I'm not sure where it comes from, and obviously it is a degradation product, but I'm guessing it's somewhere along in that process.
Okay. And
it is a good question.
My other question, because I was really curious, I wrote down, like, you can't get high from this. Like, people aren't going to want a 5 milligram gummy with all these other cannabinoids that we often think buffer the high, but you're talking about comparing a 5 milligram THC plant-derived gummy using this process versus a 5 milligram isolate gummy that you could get somewhere else, that you're gonna have a better effect because all those other cannabinoids are in there replicating. It's not even replicating full spectrum. It is like, it is kind of a, yeah, it's like, I'm not gonna go on the record saying it's full spectrum all the way, because it feels like that's a bastardization of the term when we're like doing all this stuff. Like full spectrum is me smoking a joint or making an edible or something. That's full spectrum. Oh my God, we need to have a podcast about what is full spectrum.
We will. And we also need to have a podcast on what is high, because if you take a 5 milligram pure isolate gummy, right? Like that is going to have a very specific kind of high, right? I've had those before. I'm like, like I always feel like I'm just like, oh my goodness, like hanging on for the ride. I get high anxiety when I consume an isolate of THC. I know that. I'm like, I'm very well aware of what that does, unless it's in 2.5 milligrams or less, and then it doesn't have that same effect. But what does the feeling of having all these different compounds give you? Like the idea of it being more complete or more balanced effect might not make you feel like right? Or like, all right, or whatever, like there is a spectrum of when we use that term. And you and I were just talking about this, like maybe there's that, like, I'm really not feeling anything except for just brighter and better, right? And to me, that's a high. And then I'm feeling super creative and like I can really go. I'm like turned on by this. That's a high. And then, oh my gosh, I'm super tuned into something. I'm tuned into nature. I'm tuned into my feelings. I'm tuned into my body. Different thing. And then there's like full on couch lock. Every a muscle in my body is relaxed. Like I'm doing nidra and just like melting into the universe. That's a high, right? And then there's just, there's everything in between. It's all personal experience. So when we use that word and we talk about what the difference between a 5 milligram isolate THC gummy is versus a 5 milligram, what this is, what hemp-derived THC is, there's part of me that's a little more excited about the implications of getting a gummy on the legal hemp market wherever I am that contains all of this stuff. That the idea of that being available to people is really exciting to me, even though I've never tried it, and I can't wait to.
This is one of the things that I love talking to you about. And if you don't know and you're listening, Corinne lives in Colorado. I live in Ontario, Canada. So you have tried all of these products that I've just read about. I am just trialing CBG at 10 milligrams a dose right now. It's the first time I've been able to get consistent CBG here. So I'm excited for you to try this, especially because you're very sensitive to THC and for a whole bunch of reasons. I'm really excited for you to try this and see how you feel on it and then report back to us. But yes, please, let's talk about the legality, because if we want to know why this is a thing, it's a thing because 100 years ago, some white dudes systematically lied to us about why cannabis is terrible. So Delta-9 THC has been prohibited since then. And the only reason for us to go this weird way to get this very healthy, lovely cannabinoid into your body is to make, enormous sandwich gummies to put them in. So tell me about how you see this being legal or not.
I'm convinced after my research today that it is technically compliant with the Farm Bill. Some products are, some products are not. I did a lot of product research today and figuring stuff out, which I'll share soon. After I actually try the product. I don't want to be like, this is amazing. I've never tried it. So this is how it works. So in order for this product to be considered legal via the Farm Bill, it has to be made from plant material that is 0.3% THC, right? So they go to the farm, they get the buds that are 0.3% THC, and then they go into that manufacturing process, right? They go through that process that creates the CBD isolate, but also creates this very concentrated mother liquor. And then they make the product from that. Don't giggle. So, and then when they make the product out of it, they also still have to make a product that's 0.3% THC. Okay. And so then they put that into a product, say a gummy, right? A 4-gram gummy that makes it so that it's less than 0.3. So it's made from a plant that's 0.3. It's made into a product that's less than 0.3% THC by dry weight. And they can have up to 12 milligrams of THC in one of those gummies legally. Now, most of what I've seen is like 2.5 and 5. And again, the argument is that there are all these other cannabinoids in there as well to support this in a really good product. So that's when I know about it. And if I were in a prohibition state and I had the choice between getting an illicit gummy from someone or even carrying around cannabis and having one of these hemp-derived THC products, all I can say is that for myself, that would be a no-brainer, because I could say, here's a COA, this is legal for the Farm Bill. I could say something like that. I'm not saying there's not legal precedence for, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I can safely say that.
It does open up options, which I think is the most exciting part. It opens up options for so many people in so many places where they've heard about THC, they've heard about cannabis and how much it can be helpful, and they do not have a safe place to get it. You have to do your due diligence. Like, how do I know if the gummy that I'm choosing is from a safe source? This type of process that Corinne's talking about, as opposed to the first process you were talking about. The access thing is huge. Just makes me so angry that the access thing is huge.
It's not a dangerous product. It has a very high safety profile. So the first thing I would say, if you're listening to this and you're in a prohibition state and you're like, I want access to this, is to join your local grassroots organization, please, please, please. And really put your voice out there in saying that you want this to change and you need it to change. But the second thing is that when you're looking for a product like this, to ask these questions. Is it plant derived? Has it undergone a conversion process? Those are the big questions. And I will enter that with a really annoying caveat, which is a lot of times people will say, I don't know, or they'll use language that is wildly confusing. A lot of companies use wildly confusing language in this industry. And it's really hard to know for sure. So I'll say that's, to me, is the biggest problem here, is that how are you going to know what you're getting? So asking for third-party lab tests and COAs and all those things only really takes you so far. You really have to go down the rabbit hole. And that's why I think for us as educators and coaches, we need to keep going down this rabbit hole, because people are buying this stuff. I mean, I was talking to a company, and they're out of their top 3 products, 2 of them are THC products. And this is a multi-million-dollar company, like every year. So that to me says that people are buying these things and they're utilizing them,
and it's working, and they're and whatever, or they wouldn't be coming back.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to know is, does this trigger a drug test if you take these?
Yeah, it is literally the same thing that's growing on cannabis that is high THC dominant genetically. So it's going to be the same molecule, and it will trigger a drug test. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. I'm in this industry, and doing this job because I want to help people, and I would never want someone to take something and get fired from their job or have to have a huge life circumstance change. So if you do undergo drug testing, do not take this product, and don't take CBD that's full spectrum. Take a broad spectrum product, because full spectrum can also trigger a drug test.
Just had a client lose his job like 3 months ago because he was taking a CBD product, and he was taking it for months, and it musted that little bit of THC, and he lost his job. It's a thing. It's awful.
And he didn't know that was possible.
He didn't know because he thought he was taking a CBD product. This is before I worked with him. This is one of the reasons why he came to me, was he had all this time now because he'd been fired and wanted to figure out how to use cannabis to deal with the depression and shit. He was like, I know it works, but I've never been able to take it before because I get drug tested. And then he got drug tested taking just CBD, which really helped his anxiety. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, big problems to solve. Yeah. I'm so excited to see where this goes, and then maybe you can find us a great source, like a source that you trust of those gummies, and then you can tell us about it.
Would you try this if you were here in the States? If you were to come to Colorado, would you put it in your body?
Oh my God, are you kidding? If I came to Colorado, I would put aside all my health training and all my training about weed for a weekend, and I would just try everything that you guys had. And then yeah, I would much rather try that than these Franken cannabinoids, which we're going to talk about on a different podcast. Yes, super scared of those. This seems like a better process. I want to know more about it, but yeah, it seems promising. And it looks like maybe that people who have been screaming in this space for a long time about hey, I want to try these other cannabinoids, but not in the way you're producing them. Yeah, maybe it's a good option.
I think so. Maybe. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Wake and Bake podcast. If you have any questions, if you've tried Delta-9, if you are confused about it, please let us know. Email us at support@wakeandbake.co. Make sure you like and subscribe, and send this to someone, maybe even your grandma, who needs to know a little bit more about cannabis and how it actually works.
Warn your grandma that we swear, and Corinne says mother liquor a whole bunch so first.
See you next time.
Okay, so you tried these gummies on the other side. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so I tried the gummies. I loved the gummies. I loved the gummies. Like, they are the best edible that I've ever bought and eaten, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Okay, is it just me? Like, if I just went down this rabbit hole and been like, the mother liquor is amazing, and, like, it's a placebo?" So I started giving to my family members, my friends, my colleagues. I was giving them to everyone, and everyone agreed on 2 things. One, that they were amazing. They help you sleep. They're great for pain. They were like, this was all this feedback that I was getting. And 2, they were the most disgusting thing you have ever eaten in your entire life. Like, when we talked about this and I hadn't tried them, I'm like, oh yeah, flavor. What does it matter? And I mean, we're trying to figure out ways to like use a chaser or something to get this out of your mouth. Like, our recommendation is like, eat it before you brush your teeth in the morning, eat it before you brush your teeth at night. Like, it is intense, to say the least. However, the more that I've learned about it since then in the development of these types of products, it is this idea of like the enhanced full spectrum, which I know you and I talked about doing another episode on what full spectrum is, but it has just higher concentrations of everything and you can taste that. It's pretty intense.
It kind of doesn't matter though, because the second you tried them, we're on a call and you're like, these things are amazing. And they're working at like really low doses. You already are somebody who experiences effects from low doses, but you were even able to take lower doses and you were feeling great. So yeah, they taste like crap, but if they're really working at super low doses, I think that's amazing for that to happen. Like, chase it with your toothpaste, have at it.
Drink your toothpaste. Yeah, I know. It's like for a microdose, I use a quarter of this 2.5 milligram, half to a full one for sleep at night. And they worked so much that as we were launching Hemp Company, we decided to sell them. So we sell them. And these ones are made with the mother liquor, mother liquor formulated, and organic ingredients. And you can scan the QR code and make sure there's no bullshit in there. There's no bullshit. So we wanted to make sure that if you were going to try hemp gummies, that you would be able to do it from somebody that you trust. So we made these. And if you would have told me back in August when I had my little chipped tooth and like my terrible attitude about all the THC you could buy online, that we were going to be making a THC gummy that tasted terrible and worked great, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's where we are today. Look how far we can come when our kids are at school.
Full year school.
I'm with you. I'll chant it.
And tell them what flavor it is, Corinne.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if you can see this, and if you're on a podcast listening to it, you can't, but it's hemp flavored, because I'm not going to lie to you and call it like fruit flavored. It tastes like hemp, dude. Oh my God. I think one day we're going to start making all these different flavors. Like next time it'll be mother liquor flavored. And then the time after that, it'll be like the Bernie Bott's every flavored bean from Harry Potter. It'll be like booger flavored, and we'll just keep going.
Oh God.
Anyway, if you want to try them, use the code Wake and Bake and go to wakeandbakehemp.co. You get 10% off. And I would love to know. I would love to know how it goes for you.
Give Corinne ideas for flavor name ideas.
Yeah. After you try one, you have to go onto a social media account of your choice and tell us what they should actually be named in terms of flavor. If you can beat hemp flavor, I'll put it on the next label. Awesome.
Thanks. See you next time.
But it's called the mother liquor. And the mother liquor is the leftover. Yep, that's what it's actually called.
Licker or Liqueur?
I wrote it as Licker.
I really hope it's Liqueur right now.
It probably is. I was too excited. And I was like, mother liquor. Oh, cut. No, I'm just kidding. Let's keep rolling. So when they use the mother liquor, stop it. So in this mother liquor that results in the mother liquor.
And Corinne says mother liquor. Oh.
Mother liquor.